The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTRTV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Austin, Texas, right in the heart of the Lone Star State lies the Circuit of the Americas. Originally built for F1, NASCAR for the last 3 years has found itself a place on the calendar here, and it's been quite the race shoving around these 3,000 plus pound stock cars on a track built for 1,600 pound rocket ships. Let's see tonight how the Spartan SimRacing League will persevere here on the twists and turns in Austin as we have race number 4 on tonight's calendar. Welcome everyone to PTRTV, where it will be myself, Corey Silva, and Ande Grandbush here giving you the calls, and I'll be the one pushing the buttons, giving you the images that you do see on the screen. Andre, race number 4 here at the most difficult track these guys will probably head to, even given the other road courses we have on the schedule. And I think the difficulty of this track has kind of caused a lot of drivers not to take the trip here today, but the ones that did take the trip here will have quite the challenge on their hands.
Yeah, it's definitely a daunting racetrack. Like you mentioned, it was not built for these stock cars. It was quite literally built very specifically to adhere to the rules of F1. To the viewers at home, fun fact, Formula One has a list of rules for a new track that's being constructed to be F1 legal. And there's certain things like straightaway length, the angle of turn 1, a certain number of corners, all that good stuff. And this track was built from the ground up to adhere to all those rules. And then NASCAR decided, you know what, let's go here for some reason. And we've done it a couple times. It's been pretty chaotic both times that we've done it. And I think now with the absence of the Indy Road course, I think this definitely takes the top spot on the podium for the most challenging track on the schedule, I'd have to say.
What do you mean absence of the Indy Road course? We're still going there.
Wait, are we?
Yeah, at least until I think next year they may go back to the Oval, but still there this season. But they do have similar issues, with turn number 1 being an absolute just cluster, with these guys going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide in the real world, if English can come out of my mouth. But we'll have a lot to talk about regarding that, and our opinions on yesterday's race, if you're watching this live, what we saw in the real world here. But we'll bring up the point standings very quickly after 3 races, already seeing quite the spread on the top of your standings. This is the second group of races, which is, we'll describe that later as well. Jason Baker won the first group, basically the mini 3-race set, which is how this schedule is compiled. So he's up there by 24 over Ty Ippolito, Jake Hickson, Medeiros, last week's winner, 2 weeks ago at Phoenix, and Justin Boyle's top 5. But we can see a very, very separated top 10. Of course, back there in 9th, Timothy Latham, a very fast driver, last season's champion, but he did have that points penalty, so he really wouldn't be back there on pace. But a big gap here, Andre, on the standings very early in the season.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of a hill to climb, I think, for some of those guys a little bit further back. We'll have to see. I know COTA is definitely a track that can turn point situations around because, I mean, the finishing order, even if you start to get into a groove in a season, you figure out, okay, this driver's usually up front, this guy's usually running pretty well. Yeah, COTA kind of has another thing in mind, another thing coming. So we'll see how the running order and how the points get shaken up. But it looks like the drivers are finally gridding up here at Circuit of the Americas. Devin Medeiros got pole with a 2-minute 12.145, and he's right next to Tanner Marty in that 55 machine. with a 2-minute 12. Ty Ippolito in third place. He's got a 2:13. He's next to Kendall Levron with also a 2:13. Then we got a little bit of gap in time. 23 car is going to be P5 with a 2:14 next to Timothy Latham with a 2:15. P7 is going to go to Blair Holloman out of Middletown, PA, and that's going to be a 2:15 as well. Jordan Sailor's 2 seconds behind him. The 88 is going to roll off 8th, and rounding out our top 10 for the night, Gordon Jorgensen is going to be in P9 in the number 9 with a 2:18. Dave Fuge Jr. is going to be in P10 with a 2:28.
And very short field here today. Justin Levine in the 11th. Actually, I think it's Levine because they said Justin Levine made everyone say his name wrong. Rather, Adam Levine. So I think it's Justin Levine, as we were corrected. Corey Saucier, who's a neighbor to me here in the state of Massachusetts, in 12th. And then shotgun on the field, Heath Snyder, the Ohio native, in the 13th spot, one that you see on Saturdays in the 100% Cup Series, which will actually be here on the channel. Very short pace lap here at COTA, so we're going through the stadium section now, so kind of our odds and ends to go over. Our Sunshine Boy on Twitch, which I think I have to change that because I don't even know if he streams anymore, to be honest. But open setups, 50% fuel, 4 sets of tires in the pits, no incident limit tonight. You read that right, no incident limit. These guys are free to drive this as the NASCAR boys were last season, but there is a rolling stage at lap 15 and an incident-based yellow. So I guess supposedly if everybody drives this like the NASCAR race, we may have a lot of cautions depending on how the incidents do throughout the cautions. And then our keys to the race. Very technical track, as we just talked about with it being an F1 track. Save the tires because you don't know how long you're going to have to be out there, although we have been told the fuel load between 10 and 12 laps. And I just wrote turn 1 because if you caught the real world race yesterday, you know how chaotic it is. So I don't expect that same level of calamity, but still very hard to make that braking zone up the 110-foot elevation change for the sharp hairpin. But Devin Medeiros, he has been told to be the road course ringer of the series, so we'll see what he can do here on the front straightaway at COTA. Barney the flagman will have the flag in hand, and he will get it waving in just a matter of moments and get us underway. I think we're using the second finish line here. Yes, we are. There we are, racing into turn 1 at COTA.
But a wheel spin back there in row 3 is going to cause some separation. Now, turn 1 starts out wide enough to go 13 wide for the whole field, but luckily they're not going to have to do that, as that separation kind of got them stacked up and more double filed than anything else. Medeiros able to pull away by about 3 car lengths, and the first battle behind him is going to be Levine in the number 1, as he takes a position from that 23 machine. For the first time tonight, we're working our way through the S's, which for me, no matter what kind of car I'm driving, these S's tend to be a bit of a trouble spot. These guys seem to have it figured out pretty well. Right up on the curb and then into this very slow technical downhill, uphill, goes every which way. It's COTA. We all know what it is, but Devin Medeiros still 0.6 seconds. Tanner Marty trying to reel him in, but let's see what the road course ringer can do with the rest of lap 1.
Yeah, you saw that turn 8 right there on screen. That kind of caused yesterday's race in the real world to go upside down with the fact that there was a lot of dirt on track by the lack of NASCAR track limits there. I saw some lockup there, I believe, maybe to Justin Boyles there. But a lot of dirt thrown on track. That can actually happen in the iRacing service, and it may very well happen with the lack there of incident policing here on the evening. There goes Levine down hard on the binders, tried to get a move under Leveron, but did not successfully make that pass. And it will be interesting to see, big wiggle there from Levine on exit. Will be interesting to see how the guys do treat the incident limit in lack thereof, because as we said, I almost called you Peter because I worked with Peter the other day. Because, Andre, we talked about there being an incident caution threshold, which we don't know the exact number. So if you run off wide, you're more likely to cause a yellow, but you have the ability to run wide for speed. So do you want the yellows or do you want the speed? Because I don't know if you can get both the way it's configured.
Well, luckily for you, I've seen this episode before, Corey. The system, I've commented a lot of races with
this. There we go. I do have to report there are 4 drivers who are serving penalties via last week, or rather at Phoenix. So you can see Leveron in the pits right now, as well as Fuge, and I believe there was 4 Boyles, and I believe there was 1 more sailors. So we do have a large portion of the field serving last week's penalties. But continue.
So they're going to have to do a drive-through. I don't believe they have to stop, which is, I mean, a little bit helpful, but they're still losing quite a bit of time. But as I was saying, what's going to happen with this system is the drivers are going to drive really hard. They're going to use the track limits. They're going to stack up those 1Xs. And then when we get that caution, they're all going to act confused. That seems to be what happens every time. They want to have their cake and they want to eat it too, but unfortunately this system really only lets you choose one. Either you can play it conservative as a group and make sure that you guys don't stack up those incident points and you don't get those cautions, or you can just be really aggressive with it and you're going to have to suffer the consequences of a yellow later down the road. And again, nobody knows what the limit is. I believe it actually changes from yellow to yellow. So for one caution, it might say, okay, we need 12 incident points, and the next it might say, oh, we need 15. So it is completely unbeknownst to anybody what's going to trigger it. And I think if I'm a driver, I'm not even sure it's worth it to take it easy, Corey, because it's not just you, right? You got to rely on the whole field as a group to take it easy, to not abuse the penalty system. And let me tell you something. Whenever I'm on track, maybe I got trust issues, but I don't trust the competition to do anything for me.
Oh, not at all. And COTA is one of these tracks where if you do run wide, someone's going to fill the gap in, or if you don't run wide, and this is actually something that I believe it was Jensen Button said in his post-race interview. He said in F1, you know, if you kind of enter a corner slowly, you don't really worry about someone getting by you because, you know, they still have to wait. But here, if you're running slow or you run wide or you run too shallow, someone will go around the outside of you, which going around the outside of a road course caught him off guard quite drastically, but it can happen. And people will take advantage of every situation, but we do have a situation on hand because we thought Medeiros was going to pull away handily, but Marty and Ippolito staying with him. Ippolito may actually be a hair faster than Marty, but struggling to get by. You can see those rotors already glowing just after 3 laps of competition here. 3-car breakaway, then we go back about 3 seconds to Levine there. Maybe saying it wrong, but oh, and actually he is slowing down. Did he get a slowdown perhaps? I'm not sure if you're in sim today, Andre, to see, but that's Heath Snyder going kind of missing the S's there a little bit. We saw that a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I don't own COTA, so I'm not in sim, but I think you're exactly right. I think that was a slowdown penalty. At first I thought maybe he was just trying to give the 29 the position for some reason, but then when he immediately took it back, that kind of tells me, yeah, he was just slowing down because of a penalty or something of the sort. Got a bit of a gaggle of cars back here, starting with the number, is that the number 5 machine?
Yeah, Latham with a very different scheme here today.
I almost thought it was a number 6 for a minute there. That font kind of caught me off guard. But
what the hell was that?
The number 9 jumping the curb. He's going to get to the inside of the 10, and he may be able to make the move here. I don't think, I can't remember which way they turn next, actually, so I don't know who's in the preferred lane. Looks like it's going to be the number 9 in the preferred lane down on the bottom, but this corner being as sharp as it is, if the outside car can get the out brake and they can drive it a little bit deeper, they may be able to defend. Number 10 of Holloman is going to stay side by side through that sharp left-hander. Now into the right-hander. He's got the inside, but he's got to watch those turtles. Look at that. The number 9 going way wide. I tell you what, I did not think the 10 was going to prevail in that little battle right there, but he played some great defense. Then he locks up the tires a little bit. Got to watch that. Don't want to do that too much tonight because you're not going to have too many opportunities to get tires, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Yes, they are, but that stadium section pushes these next gens into... Again, no track limits, or very minimal track limits there, and Jorgensen will be quite pleased for that as he goes ultra wide there. That battle has ceased. Well, look at them. I mean, I asked Dave Fugiadvin, how loose are the limits? He says if they want to drive it like NASCAR yesterday, they can, and as we talked about, you know, that has its risk and rewards, but it looks like they're doing that, whether intentionally or not. But just scooching a little bit further up front, Heath Snyder closing in on Levine there and really getting close there. Exiting turn 1, heading down the hill through the S's here. Right-hander, and this is where you have to set yourself up with a quick left. And Peter the other day on 3YTV alluded to them as pillows, and Levine completely just botched that set of corners there. You see these little dots essentially on the inside of the S's here on iRacing. to prevent you from cutting. They don't have them in NASCAR because everybody whined about them and they were driving over them and destroyed their cars, so they took them out. But we do have them virtually to act as little shortcut policing tools, and Levine had to evade them quite significantly there, but huge drive under from Snyder. If he could slow down for that, I'll be astonished. And well, I'm astonished. He managed to slow down for that one and make it work.
Yeah, you made it stick. I'm not entirely certain how, but tell you what, Snyder and Levine, they've been trading positions back and forth for the last 4 laps, pretty much since the drop of the green, and they're very close in pace. It's just one driver makes a mistake, the other one capitalizes, and they just go back and forth that way. But that corner right there, Corey, that seems to be the trouble spot as far as lockups are concerned. I see tire smoke just about every time we follow somebody through that corner. So I know with the next-gen car, the brakes have changed a lot. They were kind of numb and unresponsive when the car first came out, and then iRacing changed a few things, and now as far as I'm aware, they're more sensitive, but I don't really have much wheel time, so I can't really confirm that. But I do know that braking is tough, regardless of how iRacing has it set up. These stock cars, I've said it before, I'll say it again, pregnant dump trucks on ice. And when you try to slow down from 180 down to 40 for a hairpin, not exactly an easy endeavor. We're going on board with Tanner Marty as he tries to reel in our leader. He's not really falling back. He's not really gained either. But I'll tell you, for me personally, I like being in this position right behind the leader, especially if it's a track that I'm not too confident at. Being able to watch the leader and kind of copy their lines wherever they break, wherever they turn in, it just helps you learn the track. It helps you get in the rhythm. And I think Tanner Marty's able to pick up a thing or two from the Dearest. But getting to him and passing him, that's going to be a completely different thing. And through the S's, looks like he gets a pretty good run. And we do have a yellow flag. That's going to be our first random incident of the night, I believe. I don't think that was for a car around. So that is going to be caution on lap 5.
Yeah, let me just... No, I'm trying to look at... Well,
whoa!
That was a thing.
Is Dave testing out the Armco barrier?
Answer yes. Now, whether he had technical issues, he destroyed the car, or he is just revolting on his own choice of scheduling, I'm not quite sure, but... Or he took the Bubba Wallace school of making corners.
I'll tell you the problem. The problem is that there's a corner there, and he went straight. So there's your problem.
Yeah, that's
And then that was straight, and he took a corner. So maybe it's opposite day. I don't know.
But either way, he will find himself in the pits, and we already are aware that it is race number 4, so we don't need to see that one more time. But we will be catching the pace vehicle, and we are just now in the stadium section, so still have a ways to go before that happens. Now, at this point, I mean, we have 4 sets of tires. We know there's a 10 to 12 lap fuel window, so I mean, you're going to want to pit at least for fuel. But if the caution, and everyone's going ultra wide under caution there. But do you want to take a set of tires down? We have 4 on the wall. I mean, I would assume yes, but we also don't know the frequency of the yellows either.
Yeah, I think not knowing how frequently these cautions are going to come out would make me err on the side of caution. If I was on the track, I'd probably come down for fuel, and I would probably just try to stick with the tires I have. I know that in Sim, the tire wear isn't as drastic as a lot of people were expecting, so I know that I was talking to John Delaney a few days ago, and he was talking about his practice for COTA before the 100% Cup Series, and he said his fastest lap in practice on 19-lap-old tires. So I think you can get away with it. It's definitely going to hinder you a little bit. I mean, that's for certain. Even if you can lap the same, the car is not going to handle quite as good. So it's not a done deal. But if I'm on the track, I'm just taking fuel only.
I can see. I mean, I don't know if these guys are just bored and they're just you can see the shot here from the blimp, but I don't know if these guys are just bored, but they're kind of running all over the place right now and kind of bumping into each other. I do see that looking in our YouTube chat. Only one person's awake here today to chat with us, but Brandon Bruce in chat letting us know that Marty and Medeiros are indeed teammates. I think we did acknowledge that before. Dangerous Goods Racing for each of them. We'll see if he filled out the spreadsheet finally, Devin Medeiros. But Tanner Marty didn't fill out the spreadsheet. I just updated it today, so you win one, you lose one, I suppose, with that capacity. But teammates nonetheless. And where are we at on circuit right now? We are not even to the back straightaway yet, so hopefully we will have I think hopefully Dave has the ability to shorten the yellows. I know they did that on Saturday night for us, the 100% Cup Series, so that we didn't have about 4 laps of yellow. Because sometimes these road yellow flags are very long because of the fact that, you know, iRacing not necessarily built for full course road yellows, kind of just a hodgepodge system with the oval logic in mind. So sometimes these do drag on, but hopefully not. But we'll see what happens, and right about 2 minutes till they get back around.
Well, even in real life NASCAR, the road course cautions are fairly lengthy. And I think a lot of the problem is that some of these road courses, as long as they are these days, you know, being built for F1. See, in NASCAR, our pace car driver, he's going about freeway speed. You know, he's going down the straightaway 60, 70 mile an hour at the fastest, and he's cruising. He's got Fleetwood Mac on the radio. He's eating a burger in one hand. He's, you know, Formula One, that pace car driver, he's booking it. I mean, he's going 120 down the straightaways. He is going through the corner so fast he probably feels like he's going to die, and he actually might one of these days. But you know, they're lapping around there way faster than they should be. And that's,
so this is where I need a Telestrator app. So right on the top of the track where they go all the way up for the hairpin, you can see right on the right before that, in the middle of the track, there's basically 2 different crossroads, if you will, that configure layouts. They kind of, I don't know why they don't run a shortcut instead of going all the way unnecessarily down to the hairpin there. They could easily just take a shortcut and probably take at least a minute and a half off per lap, and I can't really see why it would be a safety issue. But, and like I know Road America, they said the same thing when they ran there. Like they could easily cut 75% of that lap off by just kind of running through the track. But NASCAR really, oh, actually, this is the perfect time to bring up this new graphic. But we'll pause and see what the pit situation is first. And we see some, well, not just some, we see a lot of pit stops as we expected. Oh, I see someone staying on track. That is Dakota Jorgensen in the Coca-Cola machine. Interesting call there. Maybe he's just going for the lap lead, which if that's the case, I don't even think he's going to get it, so that wouldn't even work out. But let's see what these guys do in terms of tires, or lack thereof. See the jack going up on anybody?
Is it just me, or are these pit stalls closer together than normal? Because the 55 was inside the 20.
I'm very surprised at that. But yeah, everyone fuel only. Very surprising to see, so. Remember, we do have the rolling stage. It's at lap 15, rolling stage, so, you know, just as akin to real life. There will be no actual caution thrown. It'll just be points administered and continuing on with our race.
So hey, for once I was right about strategy. I called what they were going to do. That's like the first time all year.
And I was just about to bring up our new segment, but I forgot what I was going on about. So therefore now I forgot what my opinion was. So, bah humbug to that.
Well, that means you need another graphic that's just a train derailing, and that just represents both of our trains of thought, because neither of us ever remember anything 5 seconds after we stopped talking.
Basically the case. I finally made a graphic for our temporarily loud engine segment, and then I also made a graphic for a segment which needs to come up in due course, but I don't have a rant topic right now. Though I can come up with one. I mean, it won't be that hard.
Yeah, I'm like angry 99% of the time. You want to rant, I'll figure something out.
All right, so bringing up, and I need to make a sound for it, but Silva's sound off. This is going to be for when I rant. Yeah. I was bored earlier. So let's just talk about this race yesterday. Was this race good chaos or bad chaos? As we did get the one to go, I think, by admin there.
It was bad chaos. Absolutely bad chaos. And what astounds me is the fact that you look at every poll of, was COTA a good race? And like 70% of the people were like, yeah, it was great. It was great. I knew the second that Keselowski's car, I almost got your stream demonetized. The second Keselowski's car
I'm not
shut
monetized
off,
yet, so that's not a worry.
All right, so the second that Keselowski's shitbox turned off and ruined the fuel mileage, I turned the race off because I knew from that point on they were not going to be able to make a lap. It was going to be caution after caution. They weren't going to make it through turn one, and even if they did, there was going to be so many parts and pieces falling off the cars. By the time they got to the hairpin, it was going to be another caution. So I turned it off, and when I came back in the other room, like an hour later, my dad's watching the race. He's got it up on TV. Imagine how not surprised I was when they were still racing and still unable to get through turn one. And then all of the drivers who were like top 5 all day got screwed, with the exception of like maybe Reddick. And it was just, I mean, the whole race was for nothing. It just got turned on its head for no reason.
It's embarrassing when you had a worldwide audience. You had drivers from all these different, series and skill levels. This is what NASCAR racing is. It's just a fancy game of bumper cars.
Exactly. And the thing is, the track is designed for this. You look at turn one, you can go 10 wide into the corner, and you can only go about 4 wide out of the corner.
Hold on. Let's pause this for a second. Are these guys, are they running to cool the car down, to cool the tires down, or are they purposely running wide to try and trigger another caution? I don't know if you caught that on the corner of your eye, but it just seemed like they were purposely running off track.
That could be.
Like
that's
like under yellow, there's absolutely no reason to run off the track unless you are trying to kind of game the system per se. So.
But then again, I don't know why they would want more cautions. I mean. I think if it would like stay green, it might be better off for these guys as far as strategy goes.
Yeah, unless they're bored and just trying to have fun, I don't know, but they were running off the track in a very inexplicable manner there. But either way, Dakota Jorgensen, only one to stay out. Everybody basically took took fuel only, so original set of tires on everybody, at least that we are aware of right now. So we'll see what happens here, heading into the non-existent restart zone. Green flag is in the air. Big push from Levine to the back of Medeiros, and let's see if we're going to have the same style of racing into turn number one. Almost. 4 wide, 3 wide, and everybody gets through.
Yeah, everybody was able to sort that out. We got 4 wide for a minute, but luckily everything kind of tempered out there coming out of the corner. They found their place on the track. They were able to get single filed, but Medeiros with a pretty good advantage there through the S's, the 55. His teammate Tanner Marty, he's got a ways to go. He's in 4th place currently, so he's got to pass a couple cars to get back up to P2 where he was. In the meantime, Levine has an opportunity to try and maybe pick up a thing or two, a little bit of track knowledge from the number 20, see where he's braking, where he's cornering, what exactly he's doing to navigate COTA so much faster than everybody else. And at the same time, so does the 29. The 29 and the number 1 name a more iconic duo. These two have been together pretty much all night long, and now they're together right behind our leader. And the number 1, he's driving it in pretty deep, Corey. He closed in quite a bit to Medeiros going into that corner, and then lost it coming out. But we're going into another heavy braking zone. Looking back from the rear end of our leader, you're going to see that number 1 close in quite a bit. He's just so much more aggressive on those braking zones, but then the speed on exit is not there. And sometimes at road courses, the ticket's going to be slow in, fast out, and I think Devin knows that. That's where he's getting a little bit of his advantage. But I'm not going to count that 1 out. I mean, he's not really fallen that far back. We're about 3/4 of the way through the lap now, and as I say that, never mind, a little bit of wheel lock. He's going to give up a little bit of time, but not too much. Tanner Marty closing back in now. Might be looking at a 4-car battle for the lead on lap 8, but yeah, Levine really starting to show some speed that I didn't. Whoa, boy! I'm going to stop saying things about Levine, Corey, because every time I do, that's what happens.
And I think I'm going to send you a bottle of WD-40 as a compensation for tonight's event too. But 29 of Snyder closing in on Levine. Levine going wide off into the AstroTurf there. Not as much grip down there, so Snyder will be able to get that run down the front straightaway. How aggressive will Levine be on the binders to try and salvage the outside lane? Answer to that question, not very much. Hopping the curb there is Snyder, but he will move into P2. And we'll see if he has anything. He was closing in on a couple guys before that yellow, so we'll see if he has anything in the bank for the 20. 1, 2, 3, 4 right there on your screen. We go back about another 3.5 seconds to get back to Captain Bump Draft, who I don't think that title will be lived up to, and he's hopping over the curbs there, or the pillow, as we alluded to, and that opens up an opportunity for Dakota Jorgensen to try and close on in.
I'm not giving up hope on Captain Bump Draft yet. That straightaway is pretty long. I think, you know, you give him enough time, and you know, you could do some bump draft at Dakota. I don't think it really...
Whoa, Jorgensen!
If the line goes sideways, Jorgensen's going to have to give up this position to Latham in the 5. I think there's no way he's quite going to be able to defend that. Actually going to concede 2 positions nearly as the 28 tries to make it a 2 for N. He does. The 9 car just stuck on that bottom lane, having to check up pretty heavily. And oh, a little bit of contact there. A little bit of spatial awareness issues, but they get it all sorted out. But maybe not for long as we head into another heavy braking zone. These guys are going to try to get the upper hand if they can. And look at this, going for the move. Down low, a little bit of contact. Again, no harm, no foul. 13 cars on the track, spread out through, what is this track, 2.75 miles?
I think it's 3.2.
So yeah, 13 cars on over 3 miles, and somehow they're finding each other.
Well, I'll have the track distance on there, unfortunately, but we've extrapolated about 117-mile long race over 35 laps, so something about 3.5 or so. And big wiggle there from Levron, getting a little bit loose there. And here comes the 19 of Ippolito. Again, talked about making passes on the outside. Well, no worry about limits there. He's going to fully try to send it on the outside through 20. And he's going to make it work. Don't see that too often on a road course.
Yeah, it seems like COTA being as wide as it is and the heavy braking zones, it makes it so that sometimes you can pull that maneuver off, but it's not exactly an easy thing to do, as the 55 has now set his sights on Levine and the number 1, so Tanner Marty trying to make this move and catch back up to his teammate, get some more points in the bag for the stage here on lap 15, because remember, even though caution's not being thrown, points will be awarded. So Tanner Marty was running 2nd earlier. That would have been a pretty solid points day, and it's still going to be solid points for the stage in 4th if he can't make this move, but you know that he's got to be thinking, you know I had the speed, I was faster than these guys before, just got to find my way back up there, and luckily he's got a little bit of time, and 5 laps wouldn't be much at a track like Vegas or Atlanta, but you know, here at COTA, 5 laps is going to be about a month of Sunday, so he can take his time trying to make this move.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. And worth, you can see on the left side of your display lap times last time by. Snyder about a half second faster than Medeiros, but I think they just about switched places there because we'll keep an eye on both battles, if we will. Hard on the binders there. Looks like Medeiros a little bit more conservative. And Marty with a conservative entry there, so he will sustain that. And if memory serves, Andre, I'm digging back in the memory graves. Actually, you weren't here Saturday night, so I can't bounce that off of you. But I want to say that Tanner Marty, because he was in, I believe, the 29 car at 100%. I think he did incidented out Saturday night. So, but he does have the practice here in NextGen, but with a 50% fuel load. Does make these cars drive a little bit different, so you can't always translate all the same skills over. But look at Heath Snyder. Again, we were told Medeiros was going to be the guy to beat here tonight. Well, at 29, maybe the underdog, at least in terms of what we were told ahead of time. But he is right here on the rear deck lid of that number 20 machine, and we'll see who's going to be harder on the binders into turn number 1. I think he's a little bit too far back, but I've also been proven wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite close enough for a lunge. He's right up against the bumper. I think he's being a little bit patient right now. I think he's got the faster car, and there are certain sections of the track, as we look at that very beautiful pillar right there, certain sections of the track where he is just far and beyond the pace of that 20. He's just waiting for an opportunity to make that move clean, so he doesn't got to dive it in where he doesn't really want to, and doesn't have to put the bumper to the number 20. He wants to do it the right way, but who knows, as we get closer to the stage, then maybe that patience starts to fade away. But I do know that Medeiros got a really good run through the S's there and through that slower section, the uphill, downhill, and that allowed him to get out to about 9/10 of a second. But back into this heavy braking zone, this seems to be where the 29 closes back in ever so slightly through the corner, and from that camera angle, man, that corner looks a lot faster than it really is. Down the, consider it the second straightaway, all the way to that left-hander. It's still going to be about 9/10 of a second, so who knows, Corey? Maybe that 20 was just taking it easy, letting them tires stay cool.
Testing out some different camera angles here, and clearly I'm still learning a little bit of layout here at COTA with him, so bear with me here. But Echo Park, you had a lot of airtime there, so feel free to sponsor the channel on that capacity. But looks like, trying to see what else we got going on track right now, Andre. Getting spread out here. Blair Holloman was closing in on Kendall Leveron, but he decided to drive to next week's race there by going as wide as he did in that 10 machine. So he will be in the 9th spot, just behind him, Dakota Jorgensen. He's been all over the place today. Jordan Sailors, he was not the fastest one in qualifying by any means, but he is trooping it out here in the 11th spot. Corey Sauce here in the 12th spot. And then Dave Fuge, after his very interesting endeavors before that first caution, a few laps before that occurred, he is chugging along shotgun in the 13th position. So that is our, again, our abbreviated field here in SSRL Cup Series race number 4. Typically about 20 to 23, 19, 23 cars, somewhere in that range. So I think the road course has scared off a few weak souls. But our race next week, as I pull up our schedule here, April 3rd, we will be at the Richmond Raceway for a 200 lap affair. Then a week after that, Iowa Speedway, which we can always argue that Iowa should be on the real schedule, seeing as that NASCAR owns the place. So that will be our schedule for Group 2, which I guess this gives us a little bit of time, Andre. We can kind of go into what groups mean. There are 7, I guess you want to say 8 groups on the schedule. Basically, 3 race sets, if you will. So we are, we are working on our season points, getting our cumulative point standings. But each 3 race group is kind of calculated separately, so we have little mini champions, if you will. So if you win a group, that automatically makes you eligible to be reset for the championship group, which will basically be 10 drivers reset to have an opportunity to race for the championship in a 3-race battle per se. I don't think it's as confusing as I said it, but that's kind of the scope of it. So after race number 1, Jason Baker is automatically eligible, but he did not make the trip to Texas today, so I'm not quite sure how attendance works into that. But that is at least the scope of what we got going on here at SSRL.
It's a very unique point system for certain. I don't think there's really any other league on the surface that's running something quite similar to that. I guess when I first saw the point system, I kind of pictured it as being the playoffs, but just spread throughout the entire season with a few little twists here and there. So definitely unique, and I can see what they were going for with it. And again, the first race here in the second group at COTA, definitely an interesting place to start, because really, think about it, Corey, first race in Group 2, half the field didn't show up because they were kind of intimidated by the fact that it's COTA. So they're already starting Group 2 at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of points. And that's not something that's going to be easy to overcome when you've only got 3 more races in the group to make it happen.
Yep, so we'll see. And the rest of the scope of that is that of the 7 groups that there are, there will be 10 drivers overall. So most wins that aren't already in, that will be a spot, and then the remainder will be filled in on point standings, and that will compile the 10 drivers who will race for the championship by having the best of 3 point standings at Vegas, Indy, and Miami to end the season. But if a driver wins multiple groups, that just means more drivers will be brought in via point standing. So I have to imagine that'll happen during some capacity. But again, Jason Baker not showing up. I don't know if that's a temporary buy thing, I missed the race, or if that's a long-term thing. I'm not quite sure on that. But that is, again, we haven't really got into that. I actually just kind of got the clarification on it myself. So that is why we are being a little bit more detailed than that. But lap number 13 and a half or so. And closing in on the end of the rolling stage, which will be in about 2.5 laps. So you can see Snyder dropping back just a little bit by now, about a second, but that could be a matter of mistakes. That could just be pace. We'll figure that out in due course. But going back to the 5th and 6th spot, we do find Ty Ippolito closing in on Timothy Latham in the Patriotic 5 car. Not sure if, again, that's kind of a car you more see on Independence Day, but nice to see, red, white, and blue Raise energy. I think I'm the only one in the world who probably hasn't ever tried that energy drink, but zero sugar drinks tend to be my forte, so worth maybe giving a go. They both go wide there between 19 and 20. Ippolito thought he was going to take a dive, but chose to stay in line, and I think he's going to get a better run off of 20 and then see if he can make a run up the hill and into 1.
Well, you're not the only one that hasn't tried it. I don't really do the energy drink thing in general, but yeah, the paint scheme, very fitting. Circuit of the Americas, got a patriotic scheme, although I will say, every time we get a shot of the rear bumper of that car, because it's got the waving flag design, I think the bumper's bent in, and I keep thinking, man, where did you get that damage? And then it dawns on me it's not actually damaged, so a little bit of a illusion there, but riding on board right behind this machine as he is trying his darndest to get a run through the
Temptation is that. Now this is sponsor placement here, and I'm not even following his car. Use code TIMPTATION for 15% off. Rep Esports. I was gonna say, is that on energy drinks? But that's on his company. As Ippolito gets a little bit loose. Maybe he was trying to look for that promo code.
That's actually a great strategy. If you just put little tiny text on your car somewhere, the driver's following you. I mean, it's human curiosity. They're like, what is that? What does it say? And then by the time they've got it figured out, you're going into a braking zone, and they've just completely shot through it. They're in the turn 2 grandstands. They've probably just annihilated numerous people, and you go on to win the race. So solid strategy by Latham.
Does Justin Boyles have a SpongeBob helmet?
It looks like it.
Oh, God, I gotta find a camera angle. Well, actually, I think this may... Yep, that's SpongeBob.
Indeed he does. So kind of reminiscent of going back to the 100% Cup Series, John Smiley Face helmet that he runs. That is one of the neat things about iRacing, the amount of customization you have with pit boards and the helmets and everything. And I think the helmets you can get away with a little bit goofier stuff just because nobody's really looking. And then when you do notice it, of course, it's just amusing. But this side-by-side battle right here, Timothy Latham trying to make the move on the number 19 to get that position back. But he is going to concede it because it looks like Ippolito is going to take P5, and he's not going to look back. It's a good run through the final corner of the track. That puts him up to about a 5-car length gap as we take a look at that beautiful building in front of pit road. Kind of reminds me of, whoa, big lockup by the number 1. That's going to cause him to lose a position. Now, that was a battle that has been going on for quite some time. Tanner Marty had been trying to work over Levine for
the stupid building
3 or 4 laps. But coming into the very, very steep turn 1, very sharp corner, just a little bit of a lockup, and it looks like Marty pressed square to intimidate, and he's going to get right up through onto the podium for the stage, and it will complete once our leader crosses for this lap, completing 15 into 16. Yeah, that building on the straightaway, that kind of reminds me of the one time I made the mistake of sitting in the pit terrace at Watkins Glen. Literally couldn't see anything except for the pits. So that was a great time. Just a little bit of flashback to that. Plus, at the time, the pit terrace was completely like polished steel. so it was reflective and it was like 90 degrees out that day. It was the least fun I've ever had at a race. My God. But look at this. The number 19 giving the top 5 back to Latham. Looks like Latham just going to sneak onto the inside here. He's got the preferred lane going into the next corner, but I think actually Ippolito's got a better run down this straightaway, so whether or not he can outbreak him into the corner and play some defense, we'll have to wait and see as they do a little bit of a crossover maneuver. Looks like they're going to stay side by side just with the roles reversed. 19's going to have a better entry to this corner, but the exit may be a different story. Is he going to get to the inside? Oh, yes, he is going to get to the inside over the curb, but he's going to have to lift just a little bit. These guys want that extra stage point. They are not pulling any punches here, Corey. The number 5, a little bit of wheel spin, but doesn't lose any time.
Yeah, this is by far the closest battle that we've had, consistently all race. So great bit of driving there, but that is the stage right there. So Medeiros will get that, but Ippolito back by about a half a second, but he can go and lick the stamp into 20, but the stamp will not be moist enough to allow postage, and he will have to suffice for the 6th position there. Latham will hang on to 5th, but that will put us into stage 2, the final stage, and just pulling up the stint graphic for the sake of knowledge, you can see 9 laps, so we will be having pit stops within the next 2 to 3 laps, and certainly road courses in general, not a style of track that you do want to run out of fuel on, because you're not going to make it back if you run out anywhere beyond, basically if you're not in the pits, you're not making it back. So definitely have to play on the earlier end, so you want to have a pit stop right now, and that basically means we'll have a 2-stop race to the end, and barring another one of our randomized yellow flags. And are they going at it again? Answer, yes.
And these guys are not giving up. They really want this top 5 on their
I didn't write down the promo code, Tim. I need it. Is it Temptation? Is it Timnation? Is it Timbation? I need to get closer till I can find out. Live radio chat from Ty Ippolito.
Yeah, he's got to get right up on that bumper. The text is incredibly small. I'm gonna assume that really is intentional. It's just to distract you, because you'd think if you're really trying to advertise your promo code, you'd have it in big bold letters. You'd have that thing across the whole.
There he goes. He's diving. He's diving. I think he sees it now. Temptation. There he goes. If he can't see it now, he's never gonna get it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if he's got his glasses on? He could be like Tracy Lawrence. I see it now.
Over my head.
That's just a reference to a country song that probably 3 people would get.
Clearly, I'm not one of them, but that is more than fine. I have told many of unknown references here on the channel, and I will still continue to do just as such. But since he goes very wide there, Ippolito, I think you guys just absolutely magnetized here. So kind of like literal. I mean, Ford and Chevy are opposites, and magnets opposites attract. So. Positive polarity, negative polarity, equal right stuck to each other for this entire race. But let's go back and focus on our leaders, because that 2.5 that Medeiros had to his benefit is now completely dissipated towards the very end of the run here. So, I mean, if you're Snyder and your car comes in at lap number 8, well, this is not a good situation for you, because your car comes in at the end of the run, and/or Medeiros falls off at the end of the run, but the run's not really long enough for you to be able to take advantage of it. But, diving into the braking zone, that's one way to take advantage of it. We'll see if he can use the little bit of slipstream that is available to you, and if he can make a stab here into the hairpin.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make a move here. I think being able to be the first car down into the pits would be a pretty good advantage. Just kind of getting yourself off to a better start in this pit sequence, and it looks like he's going to make a move down to the inside. Now, I'm not sure what exactly is causing the 20 to fall off pace. I feel like it's one of 2 things. Either the 29 was just better at conserving his equipment, and he was intentionally falling off pace earlier in the run for this exact reason, or maybe the 29 is generally faster than Medeiros. It's just mistakes that were holding him back before. He was just making a few bobbles here and there because, remember, we've seen this 29 get more than his fair share of sideways a few times, and meanwhile, Medeiros, we've not really seen those mistakes. So it could be the classic case of wreckers or checkers. You know, he is fast.
He started caboose, too, so, I mean, he's finally got position. Here he comes to the attention of his crew. Very narrow pit road here at COTA. Got to fight for that yellow line. There it is. So he'll get service, but Medeiros, he'll stretch it one more. But have to remember the old classic road course caution strategies. If you make it into the pits and a yellow comes out, between here, Indy, and Pocono, about the only times ever in NASCAR that you want to be in the pits when a yellow comes out, because that gives you the automatic track position over everybody else. So if you are Snyder, give me that incident yellow. Give me that incident yellow. Tell my teammates run wide in every corner, throw a yellow out, because then Medeiros will have to pit, and it won't be a battle for the lead after that. He'll just have a pure lead by itself, but we'll see how it does sustain. Medeiros was going to have to pit within a lap, absolutely 2 at the maximum. Again, coming to 17 to go, so at this point would be a very clean one-stop race to the end after this coming pit stop.
Now, Heath Snyder's teammate over at Hyperforce is Justin Levine in that number 1. So I tell you what, if I was the driver of that 29, I'd be saying, hey Justin, maybe track extend a little bit, cut these corners about as tight as you can get those 1Xs, and see if we can't get that yellow, because that would be quite a big help. But Levine's got his own race to run. He's got his own points to worry about, and I think Levine's another driver.
Guess who?
Oh my goodness! A little bit of contact in the 5. You got to think they're almost doing this on purpose at this point, just trading these positions back and forth. 19, you got to try to get a little bit of a slipstream down the straightaway, as that is the 29 on the very bottom of your screen. He's worked his way out of pit road, and he's on his out lap, just waiting for everybody else to cycle through. But look at that wiggle under braking from the 19. You know he is pushing that thing. And there is Captain Bump Draft himself, Boyles. He's making a pass here on the number 28.
Captain Sponge Draft, is that what we should call him now? I don't know. Bump Sponge? Actually, that doesn't work.
I feel like Bump Sponge is probably a product, and we would get copyrighted into the oblivion.
Or it would just be a post 11 o'clock when the sensors turn off. Bump Sponge, I mean, you could probably take that many different ways. So
pretty sure that's the title of a hentai.
So if that comes up in Discord, if there's 2 things that come up in Discord after this race that are our fault, it's that we are basically tattletaling on the drivers for manipulating the system, as we do have pit stops here. Looks like Ippolito pulled off very late there, and Medeiros has already made his pit stop as to be expected, so he'll pull out there, and Snyder will have the momentum, and he will have approximately a 1-second advantage here between having the momentum and the warmed up Goodyear Eagles.
I was going to say, keep in mind that while Medeiros is only a second back now, he's got to make an outlap on cold tires, whereas Snyder, he made his outlap. Those tires are getting up to temperature, up to pressure, and he's going to have a much better handling 29 machine than Medeiros has back there in the 20. So I think that gap's going to extend over the course of this lap. Then it should equalize, and then we'll see. What can Medeiros do in the short run? Because it seemed like in that last stint, the number 20 was a little bit quicker. He pulled away from the 29. He had the gap up to about 2 seconds, give or take. And then it closed back up. 29 passed him under green, immediately ducked down pit road. But look at this, Corey. I don't know. That 20, he's closed in half a second just through the last few corners alone. Now he's coming down the long back straightaway towards this braking zone, and he might be within striking distance.
Oh yeah, he's there. Coming up from the chopper cam here, down the back straightaway. He's within 2/10, 2 car lengths, but doing the intelligent move and kind of taking the conservative route there. But look at the run he got on exit there. Really was able to get on the throttle very hard. Snyder not as much. He's going to lock up the binders there, is Snyder. Now this may be intentional to not get the runs that Medeiros is getting, maybe to save those rear tires, akin to what Snyder was doing earlier, but I don't think they're saving tires at all, because I've seen smoke here at about 3 consecutive corners. It's going to be side by side. to the end of the stadium section here. A bunch of right-handers, a never-ending right-hander. This corner feels like sliding up the track there, taking some life off the Goodyears, but now Medeiros is going to have the position. Can the 29 stay side by side through the double right complex here, 19 and 20? I would assume no, but we'll see if he does coming off the corner here. Looks like Snyder has been fighting that outside amazingly well, but now he's going to have to fight on the outside of the hairpin in turn 1, which is going to be a very Herculean fight.
Well, if he plays this right, it could be an advantage. He's just got to brake a little bit sooner, cut up behind the rear bumper of the 20, but then he doesn't even do that. He just stays on the outside, straight up outrides him through the corner and makes the move. I thought he was going to have to do the crossover, but no, he didn't even have to do that. Just took it back on the outside. Now, there's a few corners on this track where I would not be surprised to see an outside pass. That corner, I would have bet my life that he could not have done that, and he did it. So, man, oh man, good thing I'm not a betting man.
Of all the tracks on
again.
Yeah, of all the tracks on iRacing that the outside lane doesn't work, and it works at COTA.
Yeah, that's just kind of a kick in the head, quite frankly.
And there's still, I mean, it's almost like at this point he's voluntarily, all right, I'll take the outside, I'll pinch you down. But here he come into the first miniature hairpin, if you will. But that's where you get the run that takes you down the almost, I don't know exactly how long it is, but probably at least half-mile long back straightaway here. Medeiros didn't get the best run, but may have a little bit of help via the slipstream to gain a little bit of that momentum back. Certainly is the case as we'll go back here on the rear deck with Cam. And on the binders here, very, very scary braking zone for Medeiros here, doing it on the AstroTurf and the curb. I'd be very nervous about the traction level that I would get out there. And while this is going on, guess who?
Man, oh man, Ty Ippolito. He is just, he wants that discount code. What can I say? He wants that discount code, and he's going to do anything he can to make it happen. Maybe they got a deal going on where if you beat the number 5, you get a little bit more off your order of, is it Raise Energy? Number 20, though, back up front, he is going to drop back a little ways from the leader, just about a car length and a half. Is through that corner. He's actually going to close it up a little bit, 0.3 of a second now into the left-hander, the final left-hander of the layout. On the 29, track extending a little bit, getting a little bit slideways, but he's able to gather it up. Now the thing here is that they're going to be bumper to bumper. Look at that view looking back at the 20. There is no space between them. If they go into this braking zone, the 20 once again is going to try the inside. He's done this time and time again. Corey, is it finally going to work? Yes, it is. He is not clear. Contact of the 29. And it looks like Snyder was forced to lift right there. And now he's got to do a little bit of work to get back out front. But, man, it only took him, 16 tries on the inside.
Yeah, it just took a little bit of overcooking it, hopping the curb there, but that's going to really set him off there through the technical S's section here. Hard for me to say, but that'll get 0.7 of a second in the basket for Medeiros here, and that's a turn that you can't cut on iRacing, but you can cut it in real life. That's where all the dirt built up and caused the yellow that kind of turned the race upside down. But look at through the end of the S's there. Medeiros pulls out by nearly a second. Hard on the binders is both of them there. And they both kind of missed the apex to that corner, but heading down the back, and it looks as though that Medeiros is he's definitely in a safe range, and the slipstream shouldn't come into too much of an issue here, but still has to be on his game, and still, again, one more pit stop on the evening. We've already run 3 laps, so last pit stop presumably around 27, 28, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, all under the assumption that no more random yellows.
Yeah, hopefully they could keep it green to the end, but you never know. With the caution system, it is unknown to anybody. It is a secret to everyone. So said, I think a character in Legend of Zelda or something. It's a secret to everybody. I also want to point out that I just got caught up on the YouTube chat, and Brandon Bruce kind of has me chuckling a little bit. I got to say, I like the enthusiasm for Devin Medeiros, and then Robert replying to him, just simply saying, "Lay off the sugar, man."
Well, he's clearly not a Raise Energy person, because the Raise Energy had 0 sugar.
Exactly. And hey, if you want to get a discount on Raise, we know how. Well, we kind of know how you can do it. We're not sure if we read it right, but you know, we've got to work on that paint scheme a little bit.
Well, Brandon is actually the sponsor of one of the league sponsors and the sponsor on that number 20. He does a, I don't know the exact name. It's Brandon's Lasers, but I know he does like laser etched woodwork. So a lot of the drivers who win these races will actually get laser etched wooden plaques, kind of with their race winning photo, with their burnout or track image or what have you. So he does actually some great work there. I saw a couple pictures of it, and I wish I was talented enough to get something where I was rewarded in that capacity. So definitely wants his driver to get into Victory Circle, and has a very real possibility of that happening here on the evening. But Heath Snyder's going to try to say something about that. But worth noting, the battle potentially working itself back into fruition. Third and fourth, Marty and Levine there, separated by about 3/4 of a second. So we'll keep an eye on that. Latham has pulled away by about 2 seconds over Ippolito. So as Dave Fuge is doing his Josh Williams impression and parked it there in the middle of the track, but he will get himself back righted into a normal rate of speed. Blair Holloman in the 8th spot. He's just kind of cruising. He's been a point of focus a few times here today, but currently kind of in his own little zip code in that number 10 machine, Dakota Jorgensen. He has been all over the track today. He's been all over the place today. He might have some plaque, depending on how much Coke he's been drinking. But he is in that number 9 car in the 9th spot. Jordan Sailors cruising along in the 10th spot. Corey Saucier cruising along in 11th. And then, as prior alluded to, Dave Fuge just holding up the rear here in the 12th spot. Kendall Leveron has taken it to the garage.
I think, you know, a little insider secret here, Corey. You don't need to be faster than the other drivers to get one of those plaques. You just got to be faster than the delivery truck. So if you intercept that, boom, plaque awarded. But yeah, again, kind of an abbreviated field, but nonetheless, we've had some pretty good battles so far tonight. And things have kind of calmed down. Medeiros has gotten out to a 1.4 second lead over Snyder, and somehow, I don't know how this happened, but Latham and Ippolito have actually gotten separated for a minute. I thought there might be magnets in those cars, or maybe just some super glue keeping them together at the bumper, but they finally got a little bit of separation. And I'll tell you
Caution.
what, Corey. Oh no! I was going to say, let's give you a chance to use your new temporarily loud engines graphic, but with the caution coming out, this changes things, because I think we're going to see everybody come down pit road, and it will no longer be a question on fuel. It's just going to be a straight race to the end.
Well, we're taking my my direct message from Justin Boyles. He has been kind of feeding us some preliminary details and expectations for the race, so we know kind of what we're talking about. And his exact verbiage is 11 or so laps on a fuel run. So it's basically 13 to go right now. And by the time we get to racing, it'll probably be right around 10 or 11. So I don't know the margin that the or so provides, but this could be pretty close on the fuel number.
I think it's going to be close, but you factor in that we're probably not going to go green until lap 25 at the earliest. I think they should be all right. Maybe, you know, maybe don't downshift quite as much. Maybe save a little bit, but shouldn't be too tough.
Oh, Medeiros, little connectivity issues there for a brief moment, but this will give everybody a chance to get a fresh set of Dr. Feelgoods on their machine, because plenty of those still available in the pits, but a long way around to close in on the pace car. Pace car is waiting at the exit of pit lane, which that is not a pit lane camera. So it says pit lane, but for some reason it's not showing pit lane. Don't know why. But they're still fighting along. Pace car is going to be probably waiting in turn 1 at this point. I don't know if they're actually just racing for fun, or if they actually are still live racing. Oh, they shouldn't be, but maybe they are. Who knows? But it'll take a long way. They're going to come on the front straightaway and finally take the yellow flag. Actually, where is... Didn't we name the pace car the other day? And I don't remember what we named it. Obviously, Barney's the flag man. I can't remember what the pace car driver is, but... So they finally have met him in the S's. Maybe. Oh, where is he? Pace car, oh, pace car. There you are.
Looks like Devin has become the pace car. He's so fast out here that even the pace car driver doesn't want to get out in front of him.
Yeah, Medeiros is just waiting that pace car going at a very brisk speed that there is about 25-30 miles an hour here, so definitely taking a long time for the field to coalesce. But let's kind of summarize what we've from a commentary perspective, a couple things that I think we're going to get yelled at for this. So I think we're going to get yelled at because you know, I think we're going to get drivers in trouble for manipulating the system, or we think they are, because we already called them out on that. What else? There was another thing we're going to get called out on. We're going to get called out on favoritism because we focused on Timothy Latham's sponsor way too much.
Well, hey, you know, the paint schemes are flashy. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to draw attention. I think, you know, if these other sponsors want the attention, they just got to step up the paint scheme game. And by that, I mean they got to make their logo so small that we have no choice but to focus on it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going like, you know, in Mike Joy territory where, you know, he just takes every piece of criticism and then just responds to it on Twitter.
Ah, there you go.
So, just trying to think of what else could we get yelled at for after today's broadcast. Some favoritism on sponsorship, calling out the drivers on breaking the rules. What else we got?
I mean, I don't have any social media, so they can't really yell at me. I mean, I can get fired, but I can't get yelled at.
You have a Discord, sir. That is as close as that's enough of social media.
Yeah, that's close enough. That's about as close as I'll get.
Kind of keeps you in the same realm. The only people that can yell at you, though, are the people that you've kind of allowed yourself to get yelled at by. You can't get yelled at by, you know, Tim Schlum in random-esque Utah, or someone in French Lick, Indiana, or someone random like that.
They could yell at me. They could make a tweet, but I'm not going to see it, so I don't care.
At Andre, I am Tom from French Lick, Indiana, and I do not like your broadcasts.
And if that's like the worst thing somebody said, I'd be.
And I don't have any hatreds or you know, anything wrong with French Lick, Indiana. If you live in French Lick, Indiana, I'm sure it's a beautiful town and you know, has nice tourist attractions. But it just came to my head there. Long pace laps around this circuit. I was watching a race bot broadcast that I raced in, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 years ago. And this is before RaceBot really had a team of oval commentators, so when they did an oval race, it was kind of like a far-fetched thing for them. So it was a race at Indy Oval for Xfinity cars, and he just kept saying, on the circuit. And because of that, I always say on the circuit. Doesn't matter if it's Bristol. I'm still going to call it a circuit, and I blame RaceBot for that. So,
well, isn't a circuit just a loop? I mean, it is a circuit.
Yeah, but we just don't call them circuits. Sometimes I'll even put the accent in there as well. But
around the circuit.
Yes. Well, I guess it's accurate fitting that we had 2 Europeans in the race. But here comes everybody into their pit stalls and trying to get their final services done. And I expect the jacks to go up on those machines. I expected it, and I didn't see it.
What?
But well, let's remember. We already talked about it. The tire model is broken, so perhaps keeping the older tires on is advantageous.
But I mean, think about it this way. Like, okay, if you're, let's say, Levine, right, you're third place. You take tires. You're going to be 4 seconds on your pit stop longer than anybody else. Worst case scenario, you go back to 11th. You know? And you have fresher tires, which, you know, maybe not a huge advantage, but it's got to count for something. I would have thought somebody would have taken tires. But no, none of the jack stands went up. I'm not even sure these guys brought the Jackman to the track. It might just be like the old days where they're like, we're probably not going to need the Jackman. So, like, if we need, I'll just get out of the car and do it myself. You know, we'll do a Junior Johnson-style pit stop. But other than that, we don't need tires.
Yeah, maybe they think that next week, maybe they could carry some. Maybe they're hoping that these road course tires will carry over to Richmond next week, where they'll probably need them a little bit more. But what we're going to do here is just step aside for a brief moment, get a drink, get ready for the last stint to the finish. So stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit
And we're back here on PTRTV, race number 4 SSRL, after our second random caution of the race. Getting ready for the restart. Devin Medeiros will be the control vehicle. He has been one of the fastest all race, but Pete Snyder, I don't know what happened to him, but he's all the way back there. 8th spot. He's been the only one been able to compete. Actually, he took tires, Andre. Looking at the stats, he took tires. We'll validate that in a second, but he's going to have his work cut out for him with about 8-9 laps to go. Green flag in the air. Look at Tanner Marty with that jump on the outside lane. I don't know if he's going to get busted on that, but here we come driving off into the chaos of turn number 1. 2-3 wide here. Medeiros going to persevere as everybody else trying to funnel back in the line.
Well, luckily, unlike real life, we were able to make it through the corner, no worse for wear. Again, that restart. Oh no!
Tanner Marty.
It's the S's where we have issues, and it looks like he's locked up. I don't know if that's some sort of hardware failure or what happened there, but that was a strange place to have that issue. We'll take a look at the PTRTV instant replay. Keep your eye on that 55 center of your screen. He's right alongside Levine in the number 1, and
yeah,
that's strange. That's a weird one.
Yeah, we'll go on board with Latham. He may have a good look at that. He's got loose and locked it up, I guess.
You know, that maybe there was a little bit of netcode off of the car he was side by side with. I mean, they were pretty far apart, but netcode knows no bounds sometimes. Because it did look like he got bounced a little bit, and that's when he got loose. So that could have been it, that, or maybe his monitor shut off and he thought the best thing to do was to get on the brakes. I don't know, but he's back on track now, nonetheless. And out front, Devin Medeiros has about a 1.4 second lead, and then behind Levine in second, it's something to the tune of about 1.4 more seconds to Latham in that number 5 Rays Energy Machine. And again, we're just doing the sponsorship favoritism just because of the paint scheme, I suppose. But there's the 29. He's led some laps today. We know he's pretty fast, but he's got a little bit of work to do. He's 4 seconds behind our leader, Corey, not Cody. He's got a little bit of work to do.
Yes, he does. Now, just to validate my point earlier, as Boyle's trying to make a move, as looks like Snyder just ahead of that. But you can see here, I'll pull up on the timer graphic. 14.5 for Snyder, and then we'll switch back to Medeiros, 6.7. So that is why Snyder had a lot of work to do. Now we'll just have to wait for a couple laps to go by and test out the stopwatch and see what the stopwatch theory is on that. Last time by won't be relevant because it was a get up to speed lap, but we'll see where it does fare thus far. Currently 4 seconds that Snyder needs to accomplish in never mind, yellow.
Now that's interesting. So our first yellow was on lap 6. The last one came on lap
6?
Yes, lap 6. Now it was on lap 6 and then on 23. So if this was not for cause, we got a random caution after just a lap and a half of green flag racing.
I was told by admin, Dave Fuge, who set up the server and the fancy dancy software, that if there's a multiple car crash, there will be a caution. And then when they hit a random number of total incidents, there will be a caution. And there wasn't a incident because I would have noticed it. And the telemetry doesn't dictate that there was. So that the incident timer must have just said, hey, someone had a incident, so caution.
I tell you what, that's the most realistic thing. That's just like real life.
So that's the equivalent of, we'll just say this one is the equivalent of dirt in turn 8. Let's just, we'll go back into Silva sounds off. So there was a caution in turn number 8 yesterday, which I think I have a static cam. It's this one right here. Because in real life, they got to essentially run right in the grass, and eventually they kicked up enough dirt on the track that it became a hazard to basically run the racing line because it was so inundated with dirt. So how do you fix that problem, Andre? How do you fix the problem of getting dirt on the track because they're running so low that they're getting dirt on the track? What if you actually make them run the racing surface like every other major sanction in the world does? They actually make them stay on the track. Isn't that just a crazy concept? Again, I'm not making fun of the league or anything like that because I know they're emulating the rules, but still, what is wrong with staying on the track and also not just treating this like $1 million bumper cars?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm fine with not having track limits wherever there's pavement. As far as I'm concerned, if there's pavement, you want to go out there, fine. But when you've got these guys cutting on the inside of the curb, where there's literally 1 car width worth of pavement and then it's immediate dirt and sand, yeah, that probably should be a track limit. And I don't fully understand their thought process there. I would say, if you're not going to have the track limit, just let the drivers sleep in the bed that they made. They put the dirt on the track. They were cutting the track limits as close as they could. Hey, if it gets a little bit slippery and you slide out into the outside barrier, you pull a Jimmy Johnson, put your car halfway through the tires,
the S's, which is on screen right now, this is the only part of the track that NASCAR actually gave any sort of care about track limits yesterday. You can't get 4 wheels below the rumble strips, which is fair. They shouldn't. That's a fair rule, but just flabbergasted me that that's the only thing that they cared about. The only thing that I really have, the last thing I'll kind of say is and I kind of already said it earlier, but there was such an international audience. You had Gunther Steiner. I've never heard of him before, but obviously he's, mainly with the F1 Haas team, not so much the American side. You had 2 Formula 1 champions in the race. You had an IMSA champion in the race, and when they all had their interviews, they said that they had fun, but you could basically tell in their interviews, and none of them were done mainstream, they were all done on like smaller YouTubes and stuff. They all basically said, without saying it, it is embarrassing how little these guys care about destroying each other. And I think finally we're at a point that the drivers themselves are starting to say with, you know, one singular voice that, all right, this is getting pretty ridiculous with how we're racing these road courses now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always been that way, right? I mean, you've always had drivers racing hard at road courses. I mean, look back at Marcus Ambrose, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Busch at Watkins Glen. The difference now is that the cars are so equal that you don't get a lot of separation, right? It used to be you'd have 2, 3 standout road course drivers, and they're just pulling away from the rest of the field. And everybody else, they're off in La La Land. They're on their own. Now these cars, I mean, they're Matchbox cars. You get the parts from the same place as everybody else. You build them, and they handle the same. They feel the same. They got the same straight line speed. And so you've got all these cars, 40 drivers, nose to tail. They almost never separate. You basically got pack racing at road courses. So instead of just having 2 or 3 guys beating and banging and bumping each other, you've got 40 cars beating the ever-living tar out of one another, causing cautions left and right, putting so much dirt on the track that you can't even drive on it anymore. It's not sufficient that you can get any grip down there. It's just a product of this car, I think. And it's funny because I feel like this car was designed from the ground up to be a road racing car. You know, you got the sequential transmission, you've got the splitter and all that. You got the diffuser on the back and everything. But yet I feel like it's actually worse. Give me the car tomorrow or the Gen 4 on a road course any day.
And you also, it goes back to what Kyle Busch was saying, is just the overall respect on track. You know, the Terry Labonte, Mark Martin, you know, even Jeff Gordon, Burton, that era of respect is just gone. So you combine that with, yes, you have to drive harder, it's a win and you're in, and then just overall just lack of respect. Because you go back to what you just talked about, the Marcus Ambrose and what was it, AJ Allmendinger, they had a whale of a battle at Watkins Glen, and they raced hard, but they also didn't drive each other off the track either. And no, thought we were gonna have pit stop. We are. They didn't drive each other off the track. They drove each other to the edge of the track. They doored each other, but they still had the decency to make sure that each other could make the corner. Or you go back to Watkins Glen with Keselowski and who was it? Was it Ambrose? The race with the everyone was sliding and Kyle Busch spun out.
It was Ambrose.
They were bumping each other. They were banging each other. They were, you know, doing everything they could. But at the same time, you know, Keselowski would shove him into the final corner, but he let him gather the car up, and he let him get back at it.
Well, and think about it this way too. So, Brad Keselowski and Marcus Ambrose, those are 2 drivers that did not come from money. Right? They raced their way up. They were in the dirt and the grime of the garage. They knew what it was like to drive a last place car. So they appreciated what it meant to be up front and what it meant to be fast. And they appreciated how much it cost if they wrecked that car, right? And nowadays, look at the drivers you got. Do you think Ty Gibbs understands what it means to wreck a car cost-wise? Do you think 3/4 of the field cares about tearing up their equipment or being respectful when most of them are only in the sport because they bring sponsorship money or because their dad raced?
Ty Gibbs basically just says, sorry, Grandpa. That's
exactly.
Yeah. And that's why, remember when Harvick changed teams, and what was the first thing they said? And there was a Kevin Harvick roast, and they were like, I wonder if Stuart Haas has any grandkids that Harvick can yell at or something like that. But that was why Ty Dillon and Austin Dillon had so much issues. And, you know, turns out that they finally, well, Austin Dillon, he's been okay, but Ty Dillon, you know, he didn't get the top tier ride. Why? Because he didn't drive well enough to deserve it. So I think that's kind of a good thing that karma sort of worked out, I guess, in that one singular example, but
yeah, no, I mean, it's a big difference, the type of driver that we used to have filling the grid on the sport like when I was a kid and when my dad was a kid, versus what we've got now. You know, you've got a lot of trust fund kids. William Byron. I know people are like, well, he raced his way through the ranks. He's got money and he's got sponsorship money, and that's really the reason he got into the sport in the first place. Like, I'm not saying he's not good, but you got a field full of rich kids, and you can't blame them.
That's what it boils down to.
You can't blame them for not knowing that kind of humility, because why would they have to know it, right?
If there was I mean, I know it's boys have at it, but if NASCAR, they don't have to say boys can't have at it. But if they just police the egregious stuff, which a lot of what we see these days is egregious.
Absolutely.
They just police the egregious stuff. You know, don't take bump and runs out of the sport. Don't take, you know, the 2003 Darlingtons out of the sport. But take the dump and runs out of the sport. Take the pile drives out of the sport. And that's what we want. Just throw the cue ball into turn number 1 and just see what happens out of the sport. If we just do that, we're better off.
It astounds me too that like the things that they let slide, because I'm not going to say that NASCAR is completely overlooked everything. I mean, they did kind of throw the book at Darrell Wallace Jr. when he got into Kyle Larson and just kind of committed manslaughter there, and I was like, okay, you're enforcing that, but then you've got Denny Hamlin putzing around the track at 80 miles an hour, running somebody off into the grass at a track where everybody's going 180. Yeah,
blatantly swerving at Gateway.
And NASCAR tells Denny, hey, don't do that. And he says, ha, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's like
and then he does.
It's the kid at the playground. Oh, Tommy, don't do that.
Yeah, and then he just does it anyway. Yeah. And they never did anything about it. They was like, okay, you've got a guy going 80 miles an hour. You know, there's people whizzing by at 190. This is a hazard, and you're just going to let him do it. Okay.
Meanwhile, rant aside here, we've been wanting to talk about that in perfect time because we were just killing yellow time, but we know what happened. We have now 6 laps to go. Everyone's good on fuel, at least for a regulation restart. Don't get us talking about overtimes. For a regulation restart, everybody will be good on fuel. Badiro's going to try to hang on. Snyder in the 3rd spot, though. He has the track position. He has the better tires. Will it come into fruition? We'll find out. Green flag in the air. Levine on that outside lane getting the push from Snyder. Here comes the funnel. Latham full send on the bottom.
A little bit of contact.
And he made it stick, but he's going to not have the opportune line here for the S's. I'm shocked he made it work as well as he did. Now they're going to go side by side for 2nd through the S's. Snyder, he needs to get by this on these fresh tires because he can't lose the speed to everybody else, but hopping curbs and seeing what we can do.
I don't know if you saw what I saw there, Corey, but that number 5 slotting in the line. I think if that one car had been about an inch further back on the track, we'd have had a huge pileup on our hands. But the 29 with them fresher tires, he's got to check up a little bit.
He missed the curve there. He missed the curve, had to evade. Here he's in the dirt. That's likely his race.
Yeah, that's not going to be good. Those tires are not going to be happy about getting that dirt on there. It's going to take a few
Mylanta.
Ooh, I don't know how you're going to take a shallow entry like that and make it out, but he does.
Sort of. He's going to fighting with Ippolito, who's finally broke the magnetism to Latham, who's up there in 3rd, but through all the carnage up there. Again, I thought that Medeiros was going to get sent around there off the bumper of the 5 or off the door of the 5, but luckily was able to maintain the spot that he deserves, and now upwards of 2 seconds over Levine, who does not have the road course car here today to persevere. The only one who has a chance is now back in 5th, 3.5 seconds back here with 6 laps to go, which is not going, the time is not in the best interest of Snyder, but he does have the tires for as much or as little as they actually mean here in the current state of iRacing, but he'll try to get whatever he can back at it. Everybody's going to try to get the spots they can while they're on top of each other, and kind of an even playing field right now as we close in on the end of this race.
Yeah, we've only got about 5.5 laps remaining, but 5 laps remaining now, but that is quite a bit of time at a road course. Again, we're looking at 2-minute 15, 2-minute 14 lap times. We do have a spinner. That is the 88 machine of Sailors. He gets a little bit sideways. He's able to gather it up. harm, no foul there. But
Captain,
look at this.
send
Captain Bump Draft. He's going to get to the inside of Latham. He wants that promo code. He's going to maybe take the position, but no, the 5 fights back on the low line. And again, they're going to go back and forth on who's got the preferred lane.
Jeepers, through the S's. We're going side by side.
And here comes the 29. No patience there. He slammed him.
Yeah, because he's the one that needs to go, and he's the one that has the speed. But Captain Bump Draft trading his title in for Captain Send It there. But and maybe Captain Bump It, maybe not Bump Draft, but he's just kind of find the place he's not. I think he has that promo code right now. But couldn't get on the gas there, heading down the hill into the first. Again, I don't really know the numbers here. Can you go any wider there? I don't know if he could. Whoa! Snyder with the Send It post office full postage move. And there goes Latham. That's real life NASCAR right there for you.
Yeah, I thought he was maybe going to get a 2-for-1, but instead he just got a felony because he just committed manslaughter. We'll take a look at the PTRTV instant replay. Keep your eye on that number 29. So he was a little bit further back, makes some contact to Captain Bump Draft, and then again tries to get to the inside. So right here, it looks like he's got the position in the bag, and then there's a little bit of a wiggle under braking, Corey. It actually turned his car to the right ever so slightly.
This is the sort of, well, almost sportsmanship. He stopped as if he was trying, I don't know if he was letting everybody go, or if he was trying to, let Latham get the spot back because he realized he murdered him, but he also didn't let Latham get the spot back there, but he bought the postage, sent the package to Australia, and it was returned to sender right there, so... Snyder's race went from a winning car, or nearly winning car, to now he's going to struggle to get back to the top 5. He has 4 seconds to try to get back into a top 5 position. So now for Devin Medeiros, this race is turning into a situation of don't screw it up. And Justin Levine in the pits, not sure what happened to him, but that is another car who is now receiving service. He may have had a tow, not quite sure, but... For Medeiros, don't screw up. That's basically what this race turns into. You can run 80%. You have 6 seconds over Captain Bump Draft, who is not the road course champion. And he is in a heavy-duty battle with Ty Ippolito, who's been used to battles here on the evening. So having being in the middle of the sandwich, nothing new to him. But Tanner Marty, he's had some intermittent speed on the evening. And he's going to try to see if he can get that upwards of 2nd position here to close this out.
Yeah, see if he can't make a couple of passes here, but you're absolutely right. If you're Devin Medeiros, just take it easy. 80% is more than enough. He could be a second a lap slower than everybody else for the remainder of this race and still take it to the checkered flag with a decent advantage. So he's really just kind of in a zip code of his own while these guys are trying to sort out who's going to be on the podium, who's not, who's going to be 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Well, I think we're fixing to find out. Captain Bump Draft doing everything he can to keep Ippolito at bay, but Ippolito is no stranger to battling side by side. He's been pretty much in the thick of it all night long. I don't think he's had but maybe a couple laps where he was on his own. So I think in terms of competition, well, you're going up against a guy who knows what he's doing, and he does make a move on the 55 of Tanner Marty. Now one more car to 2nd place, which would be a great points day for that 19 if you can just make the move. But these 3 not really letting each other get away even after the 19 made that pass. The 55 has not dropped back, but maybe half a car length to a car length. And coming through this complex here, I call it the Chastain Memorial Hill, as he last year made that incredible move to win the race. And through the left-hander, looks like Captain Bump Draft's going to maintain a position for now, but we're heading into that very, very heavy braking zone uphill, Corey.
Yep, somebody went off wide there. Again, still, we have almost 8 miles to solidify the fact that this race will finish under green flag, because we do have, there's a couple drivers back there, Ippolito and Marty, doing their best to try to add to the incident count here. As we talked about, Medeiros taking it easy, and there he is going curb hopping, or as a pillow riding or something like that, because that's what Peter was calling them. Called them pillows the other day. But, I wouldn't even be going anywhere close to that. I would be running his last lap 2:12. I'd be running 2:13 flat. I'd be running 2:13, 2:14 because even doing all of this, he's still pulling away by a second over his competitors, second, third, and fourth. So even him running this inconsistent pace, still running hard but messing up, he's still pulling away.
Yeah, some drivers actually find it more difficult to back their pace up than just to maintain it. I know last week when I was racing RC cars, I tried to back off the pace a little bit because I knew I had the lead, and I ended up turning into the wall before the corner because I was used to going a little bit quicker through that section, and my turning zones and braking zones were all messed up. So maybe Medeiros just feels a little bit comfortable at race pace, doesn't really want to back it off, and understandable. He's not really made any mistakes tonight. He's one of the few cars that I've not really seen lock up the brakes. I've not seen him get loose on corner exit. He's pretty much just running a consistent and smooth race. Now here's the number 5 of Latham. He got involved in that scuffle. He was pointing in the wrong direction just a few moments ago. Now he's still in 7th, but he's caught Holloman, and that is going to be the battle for 6th place. Number 10 trying to defend that position, but man, oh man, Latham going way wide, which is actually going to set him up better for this upcoming corner, and it looks like he's going to take the position handily. No issues there, so that's one more on the scoring pylon, and whoa, boy, hold on to her, Tanner. He's getting a little bit sideways and to the inside. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can. A little bit of contact, but no, he gets loose on this straightaway. I did not see that coming.
These guys these guys have bought houses on Sendit Street here today, so clearly the retail prices have been going down, the real estate prices, but look at again, locking it on up. He wants a second house on Sendit Street here. Needs the vacation house and the primary.
They both locked it up. They made the same exact mistake, and I think that's just a result of both these guys driving as hard as they possibly can. Tanner Marty wanting to get the extra points for that extra position. Look at how much he closes in, sliding through the S's. Can he make it up through the slower section here? Going on board with Tanner Marty, following the 19 of Ippolito. Again, he is just sending this thing, and to the inside, just narrowly avoiding contact. But up into the left-hander, looks like they're both going to track extend a little bit, but Tanner Marty's taking track extension to a whole new level, clipping the grass. That's going to cost him some time. This we're on lap 34 out of 35. It's about a lap and a half remaining in this event. The 19's got to try to hold on, but I'll tell you what, if I'm the 19, I'm getting a little bit nervous here seeing that 55 send it that hard.
Yeah, again, these guys are not nervous on the brakes at all, but I think he has a safe enough margin there. So we'll go back up to Devin Medeiros, who's up by 8.5 seconds now, led 30 of the 34.5 laps that we have run on the evening. To be honest, I couldn't even tell you who led the other ones, but likely just through pit stops. Maybe Snyder got one in there, not quite sure. But coming through the final complex, and all he wants to do is get back to that start-finish line and start the white flag lap, because it could still end under yellow. We've had incidents go 15 laps. We've had him go 5 laps. We've had him go like 1 lap. But if he can get back to that white, he's upwards of almost 10 seconds up right now. Just needs to take that white and solidify that this race will end. And he comes down the pit straight. Barney has it in hand, but it's not official till we cross the stripe, I think. iRacing likes to be odd sometimes, but there it is. We will end this race under green.
So it is going to be an official race. No more random cautions, which I really wouldn't have expected, but they did catch us off guard with that one after just a lap and a half earlier. So it really was random. I don't think it had any concern for consistency there, but Medeiros with a 10-second lead. I think at this point he could spin that car out, come to a complete stop, get it rolling again, and probably still win.
So we don't advise trying it.
Yeah, I mean, don't do it, but like, he could.
As it comes through again, I don't know the corner. I mean, I know the track layout, but I do not know the corner numbers here to save my life. But look at him, he's still up and at it there, getting squarely off these corners. So just looking back at the data I have, and you can even see the timing on the left side of your screen, there's not really any live battles within a second now. So everybody who was in a intense battle basically has fizzled out. But in race number 4, first 2 races won by Jason Baker. Well, sort of, because he won the second race via a penalty, but he's still credited with 2 wins on the season. Race number 3 at Phoenix 2 weeks ago. won in thrilling fashion by this driver on screen right now. So he has the speed when it comes to the short flat ovals, and now he has the speed when it comes to the very difficult and technical road courses. And well, Andre, next week, another short and flat oval at Richmond. So he takes that Phoenix car, brings it to Richmond. These guys might be in trouble once more.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case if you let this guy build up the momentum that he has, and I would say he's got plenty of it in excess. He's coming through the last couple corners of the track. It's going to be one more left-hander past the entrance to pit road all the way to the second start-finish line as we learned at the very beginning of the race. But it's going to be Devin Medeiros here at COTA after a dominating performance, leading a ton of laps and pulling out the strategy just right. That number 20 car is going to victory lane.
Congrats to Devin Medeiros in our chat, who is very much looking forward to that. And 10 seconds later, Boyles, Captain Bump Traff, somehow ends up pulling off a second place out of this. And Ty Ippolito, Captain Battle, we'll call him Captain Battle because he was up there all race battling with guys. He finishes third. Heath Snyder did get back to a top 5 and 4th. Tanner Marty back in 5th. And that ends up being our finishing order here as burning it down in turn number 1 is Medeiros. Still have to wait for some of these guys to finish out their races. Looks like just about everyone has managed to do so. So we can start the process of getting down to our post ratio and giving you the final results here today from Circuit of the Americas. Getting that race, back-to-back race victories here on the season in dominating fashion was none other than Devin Medeiros in the 20, getting the win here this evening. Second place, Justin Boyles. I don't know where he came from, but ended up getting it, so he will take that with pride. Ty Ippolito in 3rd, Heath Snyder in 4th, Tanner Marty in 5th, Timothy Latham after that late race spin in 6th, Blair Holloman in 7th, Dakota Jorgensen, Jordan Sailors, and Corey Saucier, the top 10. And just to finish these up, because there's not that much, last driver on track, Dave Feud, Justin Levine, and Kendall Leveron did turn laps, and they are out. I'll see if it refreshes just to give them, for some reason it doesn't want to show them. So no disrespect there, but the graphic just doesn't want to show them. But Levine and Leveron 12th and 13th. So let's see if we can get these guys queued up, and I think we'll see if Andre has got himself down to Victory Circle, where we can talk to our race winner of Devin Medeiros.
Mr. Medeiros, you got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Well, Devin, it is 2 in a row now for that number 20 machine, and I'll tell you what, it looked like you had this place figured out to a T. You were showing them how it's done out there.
Hey, I got like a second faster by that end of the race, so I was learning the whole time too. So Heath, man, it was, if Heath didn't take tires, I think that would have been a fun battle at the end, cool to watch. But thankfully I got to chill a little bit at the end of the race, so that was nice.
You say you got to chill, but we were watching you. You were still up on the wheel. You were bouncing over the curves. Looked like you didn't slow down at all, even though you had that 10-second lead. So looked like you were having a lot of fun out there. But going back a little bit in the race, just before the second pit stop, the number 29 did catch up to you. He made the pass right before he came down pit road. Did you feel like he just had a little bit better long run speed, or were you just taking it easy?
No, so I had like the fuel in my car, it was making my car really tight. So I think he was definitely faster than me whenever we got like 2 or 3 laps left on fuel, just because it was getting insanely tight. But thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that after the caution, and then he ended up getting unfortunate event. But yeah, he was definitely faster there last few laps of the run.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2 wins at 2 very different types of tracks. It just seems like your team's got it figured out across the board. Is there any tracks coming up on the schedule that you're looking forward to in particular, or how do you feel about going forward?
I haven't looked at the schedule going forward. I know we're going to Red Bull Ring, I think, so I think that should be interesting, fun. I don't know. I've never really raced there, but I think that'll be a cool track to go to. Other than that, I don't really know where else we're going. I'd assume Richmond next week.
Yeah, Richmond will be one of them, and that's going to be an interesting race. Richmond, kind of a unique short track in the way that it works with its banking and all that. But I'll tell you what, Devin, before we let you off the hook, is there any shout-outs that you'd like to make for your win?
Yeah, definitely. Brandon's Lasers again. thanks for sponsoring, helping me even be able to race in this league. So big shout out to him. Parents and my grandparents, they are watching this week, so shout out to them too. Elite Performance Industries, my setup shop, and then Tanner, my teammate, because honestly, if it wasn't for him talking me out of not taking tires, I probably would have taken tires and been in the same situation as Heath. So big shout out to Tanner because he kind of put me in that position. So.
All right. Well, congratulations on the second win in a row, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Sanjay.
So that was race winner out of the booth, and now I believe Corey Silva is finally caught up with Captain Bump Draft himself.
Yeah,
What is up?
Captain Bump Draft. I mean, we were kind of calling you Captain Send It there a little bit, and you were in the middle of a lot of hectic racing here on the evening, and somehow through it all, you end up coming up P2. Talk about how that race ended up for you.
Just how I planned it, man. Could take for the races. I'm gonna do my pass through. I'm gonna spin out by myself later on, and then everybody's gonna wreck in front of me, except for Devin. I told y'all Devin was the guy to beat, by the way. So I just want to take credit for that. Although he did look like he had a challenger. No, but man, super hyped about this one. Coming there to that last restart on the inside, it was kind of like knew you had to be the aggressor, but you don't want to go in there and just pile drive everybody like they do in real life. So just kind of just went for it, and then thought I was gonna have to be battling for third, and then something happened to Levine. I don't really know why he pitted, but that's fine by me. And then had a good battle with Ty. I thought I drove away from him, and then I don't know what he found there on that last lap and a half, but my goodness, he was hunting me down. But man, that was a great run. I'm super excited about that one.
And talk about, man, how the cautions played out. And I know we had the incidents. You didn't have to worry about them and getting DQ'd, but the incidents led to the cautions. How was that all playing out? And were you hoping for less cautions? Were you happy how the cautions came out? Overall, what was the mentality on that regard here this evening?
Well, coming in the race, having that pass through to start, I knew I needed at least one, and then I got one, and then I spun out of turn 76 or whichever one it is over there, and so then I needed a second one. And once we got the second one, I was like, okay, no more mistakes. But you kind of plan them out. I mean, we kind of knew what we were gonna do fuel wise. Like I said, tires didn't make a difference. We didn't take any, so kind of knew what we had fuel wise and when we were going to pit, when we weren't. I think the best thing is that it didn't leave us with a decision right before the end of the stage, where it's you either pit and before the end of the stage and give up points, or or stay out and get the points. So it didn't come down to one of those deals. So I think it was pretty simple to suss out for us.
It all works out for you. Like I said, spin and not quite win, but spin and podium, I guess close enough. Still sounds good on paper. But who do you want to give a shout out to for your solid run today on the road course, man?
Well, I want to give a shout out to the Flashpoint. I mean, Tim was up front battling all race long. Kendall helped us out with the setup. Unfortunately, he had some issues there that forced him to retire, and Dakota as well. We all just been working together and trying to improve and share notes. And, it's pretty cool that any given night, any four of us can be up here battling, for top threes and for wins. So just shout out to those guys, and shout out to the dude covering for me at work right now. I better get up in there before he starts cussing me out. So.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you. Well, as soon as you get on the podium next, we'll be talking to you soon.
I'll see y'all next week, man.
Andre, I think we found the Adam Benefiel of the league.
Maybe.
And now we will, I think Andre has caught up with third place. He was in the battles all tonight, racing everybody hard. Ty Ippolito.
Mr. Ippolito, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Ty, I tell you what, we were putting the old PTRTV camera on that 19 machine quite a bit tonight, because you never really got off on your own. You were battling with somebody pretty much all night long. For a while, you were battling with the number 5, and then a little bit later on, you were battling with a few other cars, but you didn't really have it easy out there tonight. But regardless, you came home on the podium, finished third right where you started, so not a bad night.
Yeah, it was a good night. We had to recover from the speeding penalty early on, but to finish third is not too bad.
Yeah, definitely a good points day, and definitely showed you got some pace at the road course. And one thing I want to ask you about is we saw you make a few passes on the outside lane, and you did a lot of defending your position on the outside as well. And you wouldn't really think that the outside would work on a track like COTA, but you seem to make it work. Tell me a little bit about your strategy.
I was just trying to drive it as hard as I can and just maintain my position.
Yeah, definitely the way to go there. But I tell you what, Ty, before we let you off the hook, is there any shout outs you'd like to make for the podium finish?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Spartan SimRacing Graphix and everybody at Dynamic Autosports.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Ty. We'll catch you later.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Once again, a man of very few words, but said what needed to be said. You just had to drive hard.
Yeah, just get her done. That's all he did, but that ends up being a broadcast here on PTRTV. So great run here, good bit of driving, back-to-back wins for Devin Medeiros. So full congratulations to him on that. And you can stay tuned for Thursday night, Red Sox Racing League, our road course racing series, 35-minute races. Then Friday and Saturday, we'll be busy this week with 100% Cup Series Division 2 and Division 1 action. I know Andre will be with me on Saturday night. Friday night is a work in progress, but at the very least, I will be here for the action. So that's Corey and Andre signing out of the booth here tonight from COTA. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.